Hello, and welcome back to our enchanting storybook series. Today, we open the final chapter of a tale you know and love, Rapunzel, Episode 18, A Home of Hope. Gather round as we discover what happened after the tower. In our last episode, we left Rapunzel and the prince separated by cruel fate and a dark forest. After being cast out by the enchantress, Rapunzel found herself alone in a desolate wilderness. The prince, blinded by his fall from the tower, wandered aimlessly, his heart calling out for the sound of her voice. They had faced unimaginable trials, their love tested by distance and despair. But their story, woven with threads of destiny, was far from over. For years, they searched, their hope a flickering flame in the darkness, each believing that one day they would find their way back to each other. The forest held its breath, waiting for the reunion that was to come. After years of wandering, the prince, guided only by the memory of her song, stumbled into a remote part of the forest. There, in a sun-dappled meadow, he heard a voice, a melody so pure and familiar it stopped his heart. It was Rapunzel singing a lullaby to her twin children, a boy and a girl born in the wilderness. He called out her name, his voice raspy with disbelief. She turned, her long golden hair now cut short, but her eyes shining with the same love he remembered. They ran to each other, their hands finally meeting after an eternity of separation. In that embrace, the loneliness of the past years melted away, replaced by the overwhelming joy of being found. It was a reunion not just of two people, but of a family that had never had a chance to begin finally whole. Rapunzel led the prince and their children to a small, humble cottage she had built with her own hands. There, by the warmth of a crackling fire, she tended to him. She saw not a blind prince, but the man who had climbed a tower just to hear her sing, as she gently cared for his injuries and soothed his weary spirit. She told him everything about the enchantress, about her fear, and about the quiet strength she found in raising their children alone. In her voice there was no blame, only love and understanding. He listened, his heart aching with regret for the pain she had endured. In that quiet cottage, surrounded by the family he never knew he had, they began the slow process of healing. She forgave the cruelties of the past, and together they chose to build a future, piece by piece. One evening, as Rapunzel sang to their children, 2 tears of pure joy and sorrow fell from her eyes, landing gently on the prince's face. As the tears touched his closed eyes, a miracle unfolded. A warm, golden light seemed to emanate from within, and slowly he blinked. The world, once a blurry darkness, sharpened into focus. The first thing he saw was her face, more beautiful than he had ever remembered. Her eyes filled with love and wonder. He saw his children for the first time, their faces a perfect blend of his and hers. The darkness was gone, replaced by the vibrant colors of his family and his home. It was as if Rapunzel's love itself was the magic that had healed him, proving that the purest miracles are born from the deepest love. With the prince's sight restored, they left the wilderness behind and returned to his kingdom. But they didn't choose the grandeur of the castle. Instead, they built a life in a peaceful cottage surrounded by a sprawling garden, not unlike the one Rapunzel had tended in the wilderness. Their days were filled with simple joys, the laughter of their children chasing butterflies, the warmth of the sun on their faces as they worked side by side, and the quiet evenings spent telling stories by the fire. The kingdom celebrated their return, but their greatest treasure was the quiet, unassuming happiness they had found together. They had traded a crown for contentment, a palace for peace. Their home was not defined by walls, but by the love that filled it, a love that had conquered darkness and time. And what of the tower, that stone prison that had once held so much sorrow? Over the years, ivy crept up its walls, softening its harsh lines. The thorns that surrounded it withered away, replaced by wildflowers. Villagers, once fearful of its shadow, began to see it differently. The story of the girl with the long golden hair and the brave prince who fell was no longer a cautionary tale, but a legend of enduring love. By the fireside, elders would tell children not of a prison, but of a starting point, the place where a love story so powerful began. The tower's dark legacy was transformed, becoming a gentle reminder that, even from the loneliest of places, the greatest stories of hope can grow. It stood as a silent monument to resilience. This timeless tale of Rapunzel teaches us profound lessons that echo through our own lives. It speaks of courage to sing in a lonely tower, to wander a dark forest, and to build a new life from nothing. It teaches us about the power of forgiveness, the grace to let go of past hurts and embrace a future filled with light. And most importantly, it is a story of hope, the unwavering belief that even after the longest, darkest nights, the sun will rise again. Courage, forgiveness, and hope are the three golden threads woven through this story, reminding us that these virtues can guide us through our own towers and wildernesses, leading us toward our own happy endings. This version of Rapunzel is one of many, but its roots trace back to the early 19th century. It was famously collected and published by the Brothers Grimm in their collection of Children's and Household Tales in 1812. However, the Grimm's version was itself based on an even earlier story from 1790 by Friedrich Schultz, which in turn was a translation of a French tale from 1698 called Personette. Each storyteller added new layers, but the core elements, the isolated girl, the climbing prince, and the magical hare have captivated audiences for centuries, proving the enduring power of a good story. From its classic origins, the story of Rapunzel has blossomed into countless modern interpretations. You probably know her from Disney's Tangled, where she's a spirited, artistic princess with magical, healing hair and a feisty chameleon sidekick. This modern take transforms her from a passive damsel into an active hero of her own story. This evolution shows how fairy tales adapt, while the original story was a stark warning. Today's Rapunzel is an icon of empowerment, inspiring us to leave our own towers. discover our true identities, and chase our own dreams, frying pan in hand. So, as we watch our beloved couple gaze at the sunset, their family whole and their hearts at peace, we arrive at the story's final, beautiful moral. Rapunzel's journey teaches us that no wall is too high, no darkness too deep, and no wound too painful to be overcome by the power of hope and the healing magic of love. It reminds us that true strength isn't about being unbreakable. It's about finding the courage to heal, to forgive, and to build a new beginning, even when all seems lost. The greatest happily ever after is the one we create ourselves, filled with peace, joy, and the people we love. The end. Thank you so much for joining us on this magical journey. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more enchanting tales. Don't forget to click the link to see what story we'll be diving into next. Until then, may your own story be filled with hope and love.